Have you ever opened your banking app, stared at the number on the screen and thought, wow, I'm actually doing great at this whole money thing? Yeah, me neither. Most of us feel like we're constantly walking on a tightrope over financial chaos, one unexpected expense away from tumbling into debt or panic. Your car starts making that suspicious noise again. Your phone screen suddenly looks like abstract art, or your landlord casually drops the words maintenance fee, and suddenly your heart sinks as you rethink every spending choice you've made since that overpriced latte 3 weeks ago. But here's something that might genuinely surprise you. You might actually be doing much better financially than you think. While you're busy worrying about rent, groceries, and whether your next paycheck will stretch far enough, you could already be ahead of most people around you. The truth is, we humans are terrible at recognizing our own financial progress, and it's not your fault. We live in a world where social media constantly feeds us images of people living in luxury, traveling to exotic destinations, and showing off the kind of wealth that feels impossibly out of reach. I'm Mike from Mike Compound, and I'm here to help you see money for what it really is, a tool, not a scoreboard. On this channel, we break down personal finance into simple, practical truths that actually make sense for real people, not the fantasy lives you see online. If you're ready to find out whether you're doing better than you think, hit that like button and subscribe. Because today we're going to uncover the real signs of financial health, not the fake ones that look good on Instagram but leave people broke in real life. The first thing you need to understand is this: financial success doesn't always look like success. We're taught to believe that being financially stable means driving a luxury car, living in a high-rise apartment, or being able to buy whatever you want without checking the price tag. But that's not what true financial strength looks like. In fact, real financial stability is usually quiet, even a little boring. It's about consistency, structure, and peace of mind. It's about having systems that work for you, not against you, and knowing that even when life throws curveballs, your finances don't crumble. So before we dive into the real signs you're doing well, let's paint a picture of what normal looks like for most people, because it's not pretty. According to recent studies, the average American can't handle a $400 emergency without borrowing money or using a credit card. Imagine that. A single unexpected expense, a flat tire, a dental bill, or a broken washing machine could completely derail someone's finances. And yet, these same people might be leasing cars that eat up 20% of their income, living in apartments they can barely afford, or spending hundreds of dollars a month on things they don't even use, just to keep up appearances. This is the financial reality of millions. A fragile balancing act built on credit cards, monthly payments, and constant anxiety. And because this lifestyle has become so normal, most people don't even realize when they've started doing better than average. They assume that unless they're rich or living the dream, they're failing. But that's not how money works. Financial success isn't about being rich, it's about being resilient. Think of it this way. If wealth is like a tall building, then financial stability is the foundation. Without that, the entire structure collapses. And the problem is, most people are trying to decorate the top floor when their foundation is still full of cracks. They want to look successful before they actually are. But the truth is, genuine financial progress happens quietly, when nobody's watching. It's when you start paying your bills without panic, when you finally stop living paycheck to paycheck, when you make it through a month without your credit card saving you from disaster. That's what this video is all about. Recognizing the small, powerful signs that you're already on the right path. Because chances are, you're doing better than you think. Maybe you're not rich yet. Maybe your savings account isn't where you want it to be, but that doesn't mean you're failing. It might actually mean you're building the habits and systems that 80% of people never manage to create. So in this episode, we're going to look beyond the noise and highlight the real indicators that your financial life is heading in the right direction, from paying bills on time, to having small savings left after expenses, to resisting lifestyle inflation. Each sign reveals a layer of stability that quietly separates you from financial chaos. Some of these might sound simple or even boring, but trust me, boring is beautiful when it comes to money. And if you recognize yourself in even a few of these signs, you'll realize that you've already made more progress than you give yourself credit for. Let's get started. The first sign that you're doing better than you think might sound simple, even boring, but it's one of the most powerful. You pay your bills on time, without panic or drama. I know it doesn't sound glamorous, Nobody brags about, hey, I paid my electricity bill early this month. But this quiet consistency is the foundation of real financial stability. When you can cover your recurring expenses without juggling payment dates, borrowing from friends, or skipping bills, you've already reached a milestone that millions still struggle with. This isn't just about having money in your account, it's about structure, having predictable income, planning ahead, and being organized enough that paying bills becomes a routine, not a monthly crisis. It means your lights stay on, your rent gets paid, and your credit cards don't drown in late fees. You'd be surprised how many people live in constant fear of their own due dates. So if you've reached the point where bills no longer give you anxiety, congratulations. That's not a small thing. That's progress. The second sign is that after paying for your basic needs, you actually have money left over. And let's clarify something. Basic needs doesn't mean Netflix, daily takeout, or a car that eats half your paycheck. We're talking about true essentials: housing, food, utilities, transportation, and clothing. If you can cover those and still have money left in your account, you've crossed a critical financial threshold. That leftover amount doesn't have to be huge. Maybe it's $50, maybe it's $500. What matters is consistency. That small surplus means you have breathing room. You're no longer trapped in the cycle of barely surviving until the next payday. You have options, and options are the real currency of freedom. Every extra dollar you don't have to spend is a tiny step toward independence. It's not about how much you earn, but about how much you can keep and manage wisely. Which brings us to the third sign. You save money regularly, even if it's a small amount. It could be $10 a week or $200 a month. The amount doesn't define success. The habit does. Most people live in what I call financial survival mode. They earn, they spend, and they repeat. There's no pause, no accumulation, just constant movement without progress. But when you start saving, no matter how modestly, you've broken that pattern. You're playing the long game. Saving means you've shifted from reaction to intention. It's a psychological shift as much as a financial one, because once you start thinking about the future, you're already living differently. You're no longer running from emergencies, you're preparing for them. You've stopped being a victim of money and started becoming its manager. And that shift, that quiet, consistent discipline, is worth far more than any short-term windfall. The fourth sign that you're doing better than you think is one that completely separates the financially stable from the constantly broke. You don't upgrade your lifestyle every time your income increases. When you get a raise, a bonus, or a new job, you don't immediately rush out to buy a better car or move into a more expensive apartment. That resistance to lifestyle inflation is the secret weapon of wealth builders. Think of it this way. If your expenses grow as fast as your income, you'll never actually get ahead. You'll just move the goalposts further away. But when you keep your lifestyle steady while your income rises, the gap between what you earn and what you spend widens, and that's where real wealth begins. That gap funds your savings, your investments, your freedom. So if you've reached the point where you no longer chase every new shiny thing just because you can, you're not behind. You're miles ahead. Now, the fifth sign is one you can feel deep in your bones. You're not losing sleep over money anymore. Financial stress is one of the most draining, invisible burdens people carry. It affects everything: your relationships, your health, even your ability to think clearly. If you can go to bed at night without your mind racing about bills, debt, or emergencies, that's not luck. That's a reflection of the financial systems you've built. It doesn't mean you never worry about money. Everyone does sometimes. But the key difference is that you're not controlled by that worry. You've built enough stability to know that if something unexpected happens, you can handle it. You've traded fear for confidence, panic for patience, and that calm you feel? That's wealth, the kind money alone can't buy. These first 5 signs might seem ordinary, but that's the beauty of them. Real financial strength doesn't scream, it whispers. It's the quiet order behind your daily life, the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're not one problem away from collapse. And if you recognize these signs in your own life, you're already doing better than most people you know. The sixth sign that you're doing better than you think is all about control. The kind of quiet, steady control that doesn't make headlines but changes everything. You now have the luxury of deciding why you buy something, not just if you can afford it this month. You're no longer measuring your decisions by whether your card will clear. Instead, you ask questions like, do I actually need this? Or, will this genuinely add value to my life? That subtle shift from "can I afford it" to "do I want it or need it" marks the moment you stop being controlled by your money and start controlling it. When people are under constant financial pressure, every purchase is emotional. It's about survival, not satisfaction. But when you have breathing room, you get to make choices based on logic and intention. That's real freedom. And that's a major sign of financial health. The seventh sign is one that your younger self would probably envy. You actually have choices when something goes wrong. Your phone breaks, and instead of spiraling into panic about how you'll survive until payday, you calmly decide whether to repair it, replace it, or upgrade. That's not wealth, that's stability. It's the power to respond to life's problems instead of being crushed by them. Think about how most people live. Every small inconvenience, a car issue, a medical bill, a home repair, becomes a financial emergency. But you've built a buffer. You've created enough space between crisis and chaos that you can breathe when things go wrong. That's not just a sign of financial health, it's proof of resilience. The eighth sign is more social than financial, but it reveals a lot. You don't have to calculate your bank balance every time a friend invites you out for coffee or dinner. You don't freeze when someone says, "let's split the bill." This doesn't mean you're out spending recklessly. It just means normal social moments no longer require full-blown financial planning sessions. You can say yes to a meal, a movie night, or a small celebration without fear. That's what financial stability looks like in real life. It's not about owning a mansion or flying first class. It's about being able to participate in life without money dictating your every move. The ability to be present with people you care about, without anxiety in the background, that's priceless. The ninth sign is one most people overlook entirely. You have multiple ways to access your money. You're not depending solely on your next paycheck. You have a checking account, maybe a savings account, perhaps a small investment or an emergency fund. It doesn't matter if the amounts aren't huge. What matters is that you've built options. Most people live in single-point failure mode. If their paycheck is delayed or an unexpected bill hits, the whole system collapses. But you've created layers of protection. That's financial architecture. It's not about how much money you have. It's about how many doors you've built between yourself and disaster. The 10th sign is subtle but incredibly telling. You no longer feel the need to complain about money in every conversation. You're not making jokes about being broke or explaining your financial decisions to everyone. When you talk about money, it's with calm, not defensiveness. That's because money has stopped being the central character in your life story. People who are truly struggling often carry their stress into every interaction. It spills into conversations, relationships, even their humor. But when you're financially stable, you don't need to perform your struggles. You don't need to justify your spending or your success. Money becomes background noise, part of your life, but not the defining part. And that leads perfectly into the 11th sign. You're no longer afraid to check your bank account. Millions of people live in avoidance. They go days, even weeks, without opening their banking app because they can't face what's inside. They rely on hope instead of information. But not you. You've replaced avoidance with awareness. Checking your balance isn't scary anymore. It's just a normal, neutral task, something you do to stay informed. You might not always love the number you see, but you understand it, and you're confident you can handle what's coming. That comfort comes from habit, planning, and control. It means you're not guessing about your money anymore. You know where it's going and why. Each of these signs represents a deep mindset shift. They're the bridge between financial chaos and clarity. Because real wealth isn't just about having money, it's about having peace. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your financial world is stable, even when life isn't. If you've made it to this point in your journey, if you recognize yourself in even half of these behaviors, then you're already further ahead than most people realize. You've turned money from a constant source of stress into a silent partner that supports your life. The 12th sign that you're doing better than you think is when your mindset starts shifting from survival to strategy. You're no longer focused solely on making it through this month. You've started thinking beyond it. Maybe you're saving for a trip, a future home, or even planning to change careers. Whatever it is, you've reached a point where your financial energy isn't consumed by immediate survival anymore. You've earned the right to think about what's next. That's a big deal, because when you're constantly in crisis mode, your brain can't think long-term. But once you've built stability, your perspective expands. Suddenly, you're not just asking, how do I get through this week? You're asking, what do I want to build for the next 5 years? That shift is where wealth begins. The 13th sign might sound counterintuitive, but it's one of the strongest proofs of financial maturity. You're comfortable saying no to opportunities that don't align with your goals. Maybe that's refusing overtime because you value your time more than a few extra dollars. Maybe it's declining an investment that seems too risky. Or saying no when someone asks to borrow money you know they'll never repay. People who are desperate for money feel like they have to say yes to everything, every job, every deal, every favor. But when you're financially stable, you gain the power of choice. You understand that not every dollar is worth earning, and not every opportunity deserves your energy. That's real freedom, the kind that can't be measured in your bank balance. The 14th sign is patience, financial patience. It's when you can wait for a sale, compare prices, or save up for something you want instead of swiping your credit card the moment temptation hits. Patience means control. It's the quiet strength of knowing that not now doesn't mean never. But this patience isn't just about shopping. It's also about your career, your goals, and your investments. You can wait for the right job instead of jumping into the first offer that comes along. You can give your investments time to grow instead of checking the market every day. Financial patience is emotional maturity disguised as discipline, and it pays dividends for the rest of your life. The 15th sign might sound funny at first, but it's surprisingly profound. You have things in your home that you bought and haven't used yet, and you're not panicking about it. Maybe it's a book you plan to read later, some extra toiletries you grabbed on sale, or supplies you stocked up on because it made sense at the time. When you're constantly broke, every dollar spent has to serve an immediate purpose. But when you're financially stable, you have the luxury of thinking ahead. You can make strategic purchases, not impulsive ones. You can buy something at a good price, knowing you'll use it eventually. That's what peace of mind looks like in practice. Small signs that your decisions are no longer driven by scarcity or fear. The 16th sign is one that almost everyone can relate to. You've stopped doing math in the grocery checkout line. Remember those days when you'd watch the total climb on the screen and silently pray your card wouldn't decline? When you'd mentally calculate what to put back if the total went over budget? If that's no longer your experience, congratulations, you've come a long way. Being able to buy groceries without panic isn't just convenience, it's stability. You've reached a point where feeding yourself and your family isn't a source of stress, but simply a part of life. That's the foundation of dignity, and it's something millions of people are still fighting to reach. Finally, the 17th sign shows the difference between someone who's frugal and someone who's financially intelligent. You've developed selective cheapness. You don't try to save on everything. You choose what matters. Maybe you splurge on quality coffee because it genuinely makes your mornings better, but you refuse to pay for premium cable you never watch. You might buy durable shoes instead of cheap ones that fall apart in a month. This is the hallmark of financial wisdom, understanding that money isn't just for saving, it's for spending well. You've learned the difference between cost and value. You're not chasing the cheapest option anymore. You're chasing the smartest one. That's what people with true financial control do. And that's where you start to realize something powerful. The more intentional you become with your money, the more peace you feel. You no longer waste energy on small financial fires. You've built systems that protect you from chaos, habits that keep you grounded when others are panicking. Each of these signs, patience, choice, discipline, and awareness, marks a turning point. You've moved beyond just managing money. You're mastering it. The 18th sign that you're doing better than you think is one of the clearest indicators of true financial resilience. You can handle small financial setbacks without your entire month falling apart. Maybe your car needs new tires. Maybe your washing machine decides to start making strange noises, or maybe you get hit with a parking ticket. These moments might annoy you, but they don't send you into panic mode anymore. You can handle them, pay for them, and move on with your life. That ability, to absorb a surprise expense without everything collapsing, is one of the strongest proofs that your financial foundation is solid. Most people are living so close to the edge that a single unexpected bill creates a chain reaction of problems, missed payments, debt, stress. But you've created distance between crisis and catastrophe. You've built a cushion. And that cushion, no matter how modest, represents freedom. The 19th sign might surprise you because it's not about what you do, but what you don't do. You're not constantly searching online for how to make quick money fast. You're not falling for get-rich-quick schemes or multi-level marketing pitches. You're not trying to monetize every hobby, every spare minute, every piece of your life. Instead, you focus your energy on what truly matters, building real, sustainable income streams and improving your core skills. People who are desperate for money often chase every shiny promise, hoping one of them will finally work. But you've learned that wealth isn't built in a weekend. It's built in routines, in habits, in long-term commitment. That's a sign of maturity, not just financial, but emotional. The 20th sign is subtle but powerful. You've started viewing money as a tool for opportunity, not just an obligation. You no longer see your paycheck as something that instantly disappears into bills. You see it as a resource, a way to create possibilities. Maybe you're thinking about investing. Maybe you're saving for something meaningful. Maybe you're even taking a class to grow your skills. Whatever it is, you've stopped seeing money as something that limits you and started seeing it as something that empowers you. This mindset shift is monumental because once you stop thinking of money as survival fuel and start viewing it as potential energy, you're no longer in financial defense mode. You're on offense. You're building. You're designing your future intentionally. That's the essence of wealth: control, choice, and direction. The 21st sign is one that very few people ever reach, and yet it's one of the most important. You make financial decisions based on your actual situation, not your fears. You're not hoarding cash in a low-interest account because you're terrified of investing. You're not avoiding spending on things that genuinely improve your life out of guilt or paranoia. You've learned to strike a balance between caution and confidence. You understand that being too conservative with money can hold you back just as much as being too reckless. You're rational. You assess risks. You act with purpose. And that's the true mark of financial wisdom. Not fear, not greed, but clarity. And finally, the 22nd sign that you're doing better than you think is that you've stopped comparing your life to other people's highlight reels. You don't scroll through social media wondering how your coworkers afford their vacations or feeling inferior because someone else just bought a new car. You've realized something that most people never do. Financial success isn't about what it looks like. It's about what it feels like. It's not the flashy car, the designer clothes, or the luxurious trips. It's the peace of mind that comes from knowing your bills are paid, your savings are growing, and your future is under control. It's reaching that beautifully boring point where money no longer dominates your thoughts, where your finances simply work quietly in the background of your life. If you recognize yourself in even half of these signs, take a moment to appreciate that. You're doing better than you think, probably better than most people around you. The fact that you've spent time watching a video like this one, trying to understand your financial health instead of chasing empty distractions, already puts you ahead of the curve. Wealth isn't always loud. Real financial strength is often invisible. Nobody's posting screenshots of their emergency fund or bragging about how they didn't panic when their phone broke. But those quiet, steady habits, those little victories, are what true success is built on. So the next time you feel like you're behind, stop. Look at how far you've come. Check off the signs that apply to you. You might be shocked at how many boxes you can tick. And for the ones you haven't reached yet, that's okay. Now you know what to aim for. Remember, your financial journey doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It doesn't need to be flashy or Instagram-worthy. It just needs to work for you. Because at the end of the day, success isn't about showing off what you have. It's about building a life where money supports your goals instead of controlling them. And if you're ready to keep learning, growing, and taking control of your financial future, you're in the right place. I'm Mike from Mike Compound, and I'll see you in the next one, where we keep making money simple, smart, and real.